On the show today, these pesky early exit clauses, a deeper dive into Mikolaj Oledski, and a game of Would You featuring a bunch of names that just keep popping up. Let's dive in.
And today we can announce that the Perth Bears are about to become part of the National Rugby League competition.
Yeah, we are the Griswolds, Grizzly Lifelongers, a dysfunctional community, a Perth Bears podcast, independent and fan-focused. I'm Phil. I'm a journalist and sports broadcaster, and as always, I'm joined by former radio presenter and current psychology student, so future psychologist, it's Mitch. How are we, Mitch?
I'm well. How are you? Is it nice and warm up here, up in Sydney compared to the sunny Melbourne?
Yeah, you're down in Vic. I don't know if we've actually released that little chunk of knowledge on the potty yet, as we broadcast to a bunch of Sydney-based people and hopefully a bunch of WA-based people. But yeah, the potty goes all around the country. But it is a glorious day up in sunny Sydney right now, actually.
Jealous. We don't even know what sun is anymore.
Yeah, we've had all kinds of disruptions today, including a weather-induced blackout down your way. So there's been a few false starts.
It's Melbourne. Like it's the forecasts are always wrong. And even then it's 4 seasons in one day. So you never know. So we're here now. It's fantastic. So to start us off, Phil, what do you want to talk about?
What do I want to talk about? Actually, you've jumped the gun there because we will get to that. But before we dive into our topic each for the day, Mitch, Kodi the Bear. I want your thoughts. Now, this does... now, I think as we throw it over to you, we're going to sort of prove pretty quickly that we are in no way connected to the official Perth Bears club itself. As much as we would love their approval and acknowledgement at some point in time, we are independent. Look, I'll start... So for anyone, that's just catching up, Kodi is the name of the Perth Bears mascot for now and moving forward, and it's short for Kodiak Bear. Basically, I'm not really offended by it. I don't really mind it. KOID is the spelling for what it's worth, but Mitch has a different take, so we'll throw it over to you.
Look, I like Kodiak Bears. The first things first, I like Kodiak Bears. My issue with the name Kodi is the fact that Kodiak Bears are brown. That's my main issue. They're known to be solitary animals, so they're sort of known to be not liking people. And in my opinion, doesn't really instill the idea of community and sort of togetherness. And compared to I was looking at the other mascots, and while some of them are really corny, but some of them are pretty funny. I kind of feel like they sort of got a bit bland with the name. Like I get the I get the significance, I get the, what they're trying to do. But in my opinion, it's like, I'm a bit underwhelmed is probably the word. I don't hate it. To quote a song by the Plain White Tees, hate is a strong word, but I really, really, really don't like it. It's probably the best way to put it. But look, I'm a Bears fan. I'm here to, I'll embrace it. I'll probably get used to it eventually. And, I'm overall, it's part of the Bears history, and bring it on.
Yeah, like it was probably an easy opportunity for the club to kind of try and pay homage to its home. We're obviously trying to marry the North Sydney Bears legacy and history in with WA, and also to a certain extent pay homage to the Western Reds as well. And there was probably just an opportunity there to kind of give a bit of a nod to someone, or part of this venture. So maybe a missed opportunity, but whatever. It's just the name of a mascot at the end of the day. It doesn't 100%. Doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
And just before we dive into topic number one for today as well, the Bears had a good win over Manly on the weekend, and it's not every week you can say that. I went down to North Sydney Oval last year with my brother and Dad, and watched us get smashed by the Sea Eagles. So This time up at Lionel Watts in Belrose, so a Seagulls home game in front of what was a really good crowd. This is in the New South Wales Cup, of course, to our WA listeners that are still piecing all of this together. Yeah, had a good win. It went sort of down to the wire, kicked a late penalty goal from 45 metres out to hit the front, and then scored a try on the bell to seal the deal. But it's always good to get one up over the rivals.
Nothing's more satisfying, and like the fact that we get crowds as well just proves to everyone that, you know what, we're here, we're going to be supported. I love it. Like, screw Manly, basically. Screw Manly.
Mark Soden, a former legend of the Bears, a hooker. He was there with Greg Florimo, of course.
Fantastic.
A legend in his own right. But yeah, look, let's sort of dive into the more serious parts of the show. First item on the agenda, what I want to talk about is the early exit clauses that have been uncovered by the News Corp newspapers, Code Sports, The Telegraph, all the rest of it. So early exit clauses for three of our sort of key signings as well. We'll start with Tyrone Wishart, who signed a 5-year contract in January. He has a player option in his favour in the final year of his deal in 2031. Liam Henry, he signed a 4-year deal. He's obviously at the Panthers now. He's a rising star forward from Blaney. He signed a 2-year deal with a 2-year player option after that. So for seasons 2029 and 2030. And Josh Curran, who signed a 3-year contract, has a player option in his favour for the 2029 season. So, look, it's not a disaster, and it certainly doesn't impact how things look in the short term, and certainly not for our first season in 2027. But we have seen in recent years other existing NRL clubs just have problems when it comes to these player options. It gives the power to the player, and they can hold a club ransom to a certain extent. We saw that with Dylan Brown when he was negotiating with Parramatta last year. We're seeing it right now with Jareem Buller at the Tigers, and he's got a deadline to give the club an answer one way or another coming up soon. But they can just be annoying, Mitch.
They can. Look, I am looking at it as a more of a positive light. Now, with the likes of Liam Henry, he's only 24. It seemed like a smart business move by both parties to go, right, we'll offer you for 4 years, but come 2 years, we can readdress it and renegotiate your contract if we need to. I'm not too worried by it. I think the one that would have been a bit worrying is if Tyrone Wishart said, here's 5 years, but I want a 3-year clause after 2 years. And I think you might find as well, Phil, whilst they are frustrating and they can be quite dangerous for clubs, I think you might find that a lot of players and clubs will probably do these a bit more. I know you certainly, and other codes are sort of doing it. I know the AFL are doing it as well.
Certainly, if player agents and managers continue to yield more power,
yes,
which is certainly not what Peter V'landys and the NRL are after.
No.
At some point, I'd say there will be mechanisms put in place, and look, obviously clubs hate this as well, but in a case like a brand new club, the Perth Bears, who are based on the other side of the country. Facing barriers and restrictions to sign players, they're going to be put in this position a lot where the player and the player's agent, who are obviously leading negotiations, are going to want to take as much power as they can get. And sadly, in a lot of these circumstances, the Bears are just going to have to cop that because of the cards that they've been dealt. With the case of Liam Henry, I think that, you can excuse it for a number of reasons. As you said, he's 24, he's coming into his best playing years, and as may well prove to be the case in 2 years' time or in a year and a half time when he might need to make a decision on that third and fourth season. This might have been built in because him and his agent are thinking, I could be worth maybe not double that, but I could be worth significantly more than that. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm unhappy at Perth. It does give me options in case I'm just not enjoying it over there, or I am homesick or whatever. But I might at that point, let's get back to the table and let's have a chat and renegotiate, because I'm now worth this. And that's, all power to him. That's probably fair enough. The Josh Curran one, that's kind of interesting. He's 26 now, so still kind of sneaky young for a forward.
Yeah.
He'll be 27 in his first year, so his 3-year deal. So, age 27, 28. Then he's got an option for his age 29 season. This is a guy that, from the club's perspective, they've come out and said that Josh Curran is really keen on the opportunity to move to Perth and engage with the community, put in place investment, time, and engage with the Indigenous community over there, and try to build community from that perspective. So, to hear that he has a player option in his favour, it's
bit weird.
Maybe a minor red flag, because you're thinking, well, are you fully committing?
Yeah.
Are you actually marrying the Bears in this scenario? That is an interesting one. It's only a 3-year deal, that last year being an option in his favour.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably the one that I do have the red flag for, as you say, because given not his history, but he's been to 3 clubs or something, in 2 other clubs in the matter of 4 years, 4, 5, 6 years. I wonder if he's the type of player who doesn't like to settle in the one place for longer than a certain period of time. Like, I wonder if that's just his nature. So, I'm not defending it. I hope he doesn't, do 2.5 years and then go, or 2 years and go, oh, no, I'm not here anymore. But you never know. He might decide that, after a year, he might want to come to the table and resign. But the one that and
there are certain personality types that just don't want to sign a really long contract, because they know what's best for themselves, and they might struggle for motivation in those scenarios, and maybe he is one of those types. He was playing big minutes at the Warriors but not starting, and when he came back to Sydney to the Bulldogs, he made a point of saying, I just want to lock down a starting role. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't been able to do that. And maybe that's part of the reason is Serraldo, the way that he likes to use his 13s.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was part of the conversation of coming across, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yep.
He goes to Perth, and all of a sudden, after being promised the world, again, maybe he finds himself in that scenario. Who knows? But Mitch, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Oledski. Mikolaj Oledski.
Mikolaj
Oledski. Because, again, I'm so bad with names. Apologies. I'm horrible. But I want to talk about his growing credentials in terms of being our marquee. Now, whilst North Sydney, the East Coast North Sydney Bears fans may not know much about him, right? They may not know a lot about him because they don't watch the Super League, etc., etc. I know that on good authority that over in Western Australia, amongst the British and the Irish and all that community, they're getting excited at the idea of him coming to play for Perth. So because amongst those, so they're actually talking about it a lot more. So his name's getting thrown, like he's sort of becoming more and more known amongst the Perth, Western Australian, I suppose, population. Now, as we mentioned,
I'm interested about your WA-based English connections.
I'm getting there. So I have some mates in my old radio career. Hopefully they're listening. Who feed me this information, and they're saying, they actually asked me, who is this bloke? And I said, A, B, C, D, E. They go, because the people that they work with who are English, I don't know exactly where they're from, but he said they won't shut up about him. So, which I've got some stats as to why. So on the weekend, he only played 33 minutes, which he normally gets about 50 minutes out of him. He plays for Leeds Rhinos. He played 33 minutes, had 14 tackles. He had 3 marker tackles, 2 tackle busts, 14 carries at 104 metres total with 7 metre average. So his input is pretty Like he when he gets on the field, he's a workhorse. And as you said, like he has a tendency of folding players in half when he tackles them. And he's running, he's intense. So I think he's the type of guy that you can build your I suppose your marketing around, because he's that hard worker. He's strong. He could be like I see him as our future Papali'i, or the junior Parlo of our club, because he is that sort of that bloke who works hard. He's becoming more and more well known, and I'm on the Oledski train, big in a big way.
Okay. I don't know if he has the size to be the enforcer of our pack, but he certainly appears to provide a skill set which is really sought after in rugby league, which is obviously that hard work, but good carries and good leg speed as well for a middle forward.
Yeah, he does, and as I mentioned how his ability to do a step, and he can do a bit of dancing. I will on your comment about have the size. I've noticed that strength to weight ratio. So he might not be huge, but like if you look at Jai Gray, who's able to David and Goliath, who's able to make his impact when he does his run and carries. I think you'll find that he's compact. So whilst he might not have the size of Shunapalo or Papali'i, I think his strength, his ability to carry people when he runs them, like he's often getting 3 or 4 people and doing sort of 4 or 5 metre runs with 3 or 4 people hanging off him. I mean, Spencer Leniu has that ability as well. It's the beginning of the season. They're 6-7 games in, and look, if they're talking about him already now, you can imagine what it's going to be like at the end of the year, especially if he keeps this sort of numbers up. Big fan. And look, that's not sorry. I'll finish off in saying this. He's also about upwards of 200 game veteran in the Super League. So he does have that maturity. He does have ability to think, and that's the sort of plays that we want.
Hey, look, he's made of the right stuff. Take it from me. The Poles, they are no pushovers.
No.
I can assure you of that.
No,
a quick bonus one for me, this Easter Monday game the other day, it was an absolute cracker between the Eels and the Tigers, of course. Now, again, a future Bear, Sean Russell, we hope he's okay. Copped a really nasty head knock in this game, and first and foremost, you're caring about the person, but also the player, and the brutal reality that players are ticking time bombs when they start to rack up concussions, and I don't believe that he has much of a history with it. This was just like a nasty freak kind of one, but it is one. So you really hope now that he can come back from this in a maybe 2-3 weeks, get through the rest of the season without suffering any setbacks on that front, and come over to Perth next year without sort of any lingering concerns about his mental health.
No, 100%. I think one of the things that we need to take into account with his concussion was the technique of his tackle. Like I was watching that saying, what are you doing? Like he seemed to run out without any idea of what he wanted to do. Like he didn't get low enough for the tackle. He stayed high. I think you might find that he learns from this incident. Like you might find that, not that he'll be hesitant by any means, but you might think, okay, it's a growth, it's a learning curve, much like, Luke Laulili'i.
Yeah, a learning curve. Great transition. We'll get to him now. So he also had a moment in this game which wasn't his finest, shall we say, going up to contest a high ball against Bailey Simonson, then making illegal contacts in the air where he grabbed a hold of his opposite number, who came down really awkwardly, got his foot caught in the ground and broke his ankle. Laulili'i was sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. No issue with that, but the carry-on that took place afterwards. Now, I gave Laulili'i a huge rap on the show last week for stuff I'd heard around his training and his pre-season and his professionalism and standards. And I called him a 21-year-old. That was the only part that wasn't accurate for that. He's actually only 19.
No, he's not very old at all. We're
talking about a 19-year-old kid who probably, acted in a slightly regretful way, shall we say, on the field. And it wasn't ideal, but you hope that it's a learning experience. And if it is, you're very happy for players, future Bears players, to have those learning experiences with other clubs.
100%. And like, I have to say, when he came back after the sin bin, it was almost like he had a point to prove. Like he seemed like he wanted to sort of make it up for, because he started running a lot harder and sort of getting himself in the tackles.
The player that came on and replaced Bailey Simonson scored 2 tries in 3 minutes.
Yeah, but
on debut.
It was phenomenal. Let's not get past that. That first try of his was ridiculous. But anyway, I remember watching Luke run the ball, and the fact that he was gaining 3 or 4 meters when he had made the contact with the player, so he's pushing the back. And I remember before the sin bin, he was a bit tentative. Like he wasn't making that ground that he was. So look, he's a 19-year-old kid. We all make mistakes. And we'll soon find out what he's made of when he gets back from the suspension. But look, I think, as a person, as you know, Phil, I have a hot head. I'm known for my hot headedness, so I can speak from experience. I think he's a good kid with a good heart. But when he jumped up for the contest, it was almost seemed like it was not intentional, but like a accident, just a reaction.
Yeah, I certainly don't reckon it was intentional or there was any malice in it, for sure. It was a technique problem and a really sad ending for Simonson.
Tragic.
Wishing him all the best as well. But
absolutely,
Mitch, we'll finish the show with a game of just straight up would you, and I'm happy we can go with the traffic light system on this one. We'll fly through some names that either we have linked to the Bears or are being linked to the Bears in more official capacities as well. But we'll start with, Charlie Staines. He's one that's come up on the show already for us because he's a Central West product. He's playing over in the Super League right now with our future half, Toby Sexton. And he's absolutely flying over in the Super League right now for the Catalans Dragons. He is number 1 for metres in the Super League, 814 to the next closest, Lockie Miller with 732. Lockie's playing with the Leeds boys right now. But Charlie Staines, he's playing fullback as well. Now, we need another player that can play either fullback or be a yardage sled dog winger. And I think I said this on the show as well, but he appears to be thicker than he was when he sort of first broke out into the NRL, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Solid.
He's a tougher tackle than what he was 3-4 years ago when he looked basically to be skin and bones. But my goodness, his form has been sensational. He is contracted until the end of the 2027 season with the Dragons, and I know Super League clubs are pretty famous for dragging their feet when NRL clubs demand early releases of players. I'm not sure if there's a clause even maybe to come back to the NRL early, but if we are not making phone calls to Charlie Staines and the management, then I don't know what's doing.
No, I'll make them for us. Just on Charlie Staines, I'm a big fan. I want him to be our one. Like I started off, because watching him play, if we signed him, he'd be a lock for number 1. Sorry, bang.
The connection with Sexton, instant as well.
100%. Say no more, say no more. We don't need to move Meany to your centres. Now, just on the weekend, so Charlie Staines played 80 minutes, 2 try assists, 4 tackles, 5 tackle busts, 23 carries at 153 metres at an average of 7 metres gained. And that's solid. It means he's getting involved offensively, and defensively he's doing pretty well as well. So, yes, the Forbes Ferrari's a big tick for me. I want him.
Brodie Croft, playing over in the Super League now. Remember, he broke out as an NRL player for Melbourne. He was supposed to be the next big thing. Just add him to a long and growing list of much hyped halves that just never eventuated initially. Thrown onto the scrap heap after he moved to Brisbane, couldn't make it either. He's now playing over in the Super League. He's with Leeds.
Yes, he is.
Talk to me about Brodie Croft.
So Brodie Croft he was their Dally M, the Super League's Dally M medalist.
The Man of Steel.
Yeah, the Man of Steel. I think it was 2 years ago, within the last 2-3 years. He's, again, solid. He's just grown. It seems like the Super League, these players that you mentioned, the scrap heap, they've just managed to get the halves just that bit of game time and that sort of ability just to develop their game a bit more.
It's a perfect breeding ground for the
100%
breeding ground for those players to develop.
Yes, and I said, look, and you say, like, if you think about the players that they were trying to beat to get into that side, like, one of the things that I always try and consider about the Super League is when these Australians go over to England because they can't make it to the NRL, who are the players that they're trying to beat in that? If you look, so the game on the weekend, Brodie Croft had like 80 minutes, try assists, 21 tackles, 57 metres at 6 metres gained. That's, he's doing his part. So the one thing about Brodie Croft, though, I would say is he's now got competition in my eyes with Jock Madden after his efforts the last 2 weeks playing for West Tigers. Because they both play at 6. They're both 26 years of age, 25, 26, 77 years of age. They're both Australian. They both have the potential to be, like Tanner Boyd and just skyrocket. So that's the thing. So if we did sign Brodie Croft, I wouldn't say no. I'm hesitant. I wouldn't have him as my number one, but he'd be a solid buy. But I think he's a yes, but like a pale yellow green light as opposed to a bright.
Yeah, I suppose the thing about Croft is he's built like a 7, but he plays like a 6.
Yep.
That was confirmed by Leeds coach Brad Arthur when he spoke to Fox at NRL Vegas as well. Yep. He really credited what he's been able to get out of Brodie Croft, but Croft is just more of a natural 5'8". Like that. Yes. That's his instincts. It's not necessarily the management aspects of a game that you sort of expect out of a standard 7. So then I suppose you're sort of having a philosophical question. Can you afford to have 2 guys in your line that are built like 7s, playing or defending 3 in from the wing? And that's where you, I suppose, maybe you kind of start to have minor concerns, but... Mm-hmm. But there's no question that we should be keeping a close eye on him, and we still need depth. Sexton isn't locked in. I'm pretty comfortable with Sexton being our walk-up day one starter at 7.
Yep.
Right now, Tyron Wishart continues to get placed as our starting 6. If you look on the internet at various platforms that are building teams, he's the 9, guys. We'll say it one more time. Wishart is going over to Perth to be the 9. So we are still looking for a starting 6, and we are still looking for another guy that can form part of a committee or a depth piece or someone that can apply some competition for spots regardless of whoever else we land. So Croft and or Jock Madden would land in that category. Just on Madden, he's contracted to the end of the 2027 season with the Tigers anyway, so he wouldn't be one for this inaugural iteration unless he was an early release.
Yep.
And the Tigers value what they get out of Madden as being that depth half. We're seeing that now with Jerome Luai out currently. Jaydn Sua.
Yes.
On to him next. Apparently he's been told to look elsewhere by the St. George-Illawarra Dragons.
Yes.
And I'll start by saying, as much as I think Sua's an interesting player and, a quality player, representative experience, 28 years of age right now, still has some good footy ahead of him. If the St. George-Illawarra Dragons are telling him to look elsewhere, that is a red flag in my mind.
Yeah.
They are beggars, not choosers.
Yeah, I mean, again, yes, I can see that being a red flag, but could it be that he just... Because remember over the weekend they were saying that the Dragons have frozen, contract talks from Flanagan, something like that. They've sort of stopped him from being able to make any signings or contract talks. Now, whether or not they sort of see that he's not really fitted in their future, he's a bit of a hothead. Don't get me wrong.
They're not thinking about their future. That's not what that club does. They've got no direction.
Which could have... Yeah,
which adds even more intrigue to this situation because they're looking at a player that has done their job for that particular struggling club, and the club is now turning around and saying, actually, we don't want you. Shouldn't it be the other way around?
Well, Yeah, 100%. Could it be that you could be asking for more money? Who knows with the Dragons, Phil? Who knows? It's just like, who knows with them? But for whatever reason, if he does want to come to the Bears, I won't say no, but not for overs, I think. But at the same time, if he is someone who's a bit of a hothead and off the field, I don't want him. But I'd like to have, if him on his day, when he's on, he's on. But if he is someone who's a bit of a pain in the ass, and I don't want him to ruin the culture. So that's a yellow for me.
Okay, interesting. And Jamie Humphries, legitimate links with Jamie Humphries have again popped up. Half at the Rabbitohs right now. Built like an Odontus. He, unlike Croft, he kind of does have that managerial skill set to his game. So he can play six. He's built like someone that can play six as well, and he's got a bit of a running game to him, but he can also handle the game management side of rugby league as well. So kind of your ideal, third half, if that makes sense.
100%. He's also got experience in 9, so he's also comfortable in 9. The best thing about it though, Phil, he came from Manly initially. Manly got rid of him. So you can just imagine him imagine him winning the game against Manly, saying, sucked in Manly. I'm a big fan. I want him. Because from what I'm hearing is he had a contract offer from the Bunnies, and they've said, this is how much we want. And he was like, no, I don't want it. Whether or not it was low ball or it wasn't long enough. But then this year, they've essentially told him that, no, they're going to wait because they've got to make sure that they can get other players signed because of the Payne Haas coming in. Now, if I'm Humphries, the guy who's sort of came in and stabilised their backline at number 7, you'd think that they'd be wanting to sign him early on. I'm hearing frustrations from him, which means the Bear can swoop on him. He is a 7, which means, what does that mean for Toby Sexton?
He doesn't have to be a 7 though. That's kind of the thing.
You are correct.
So Croft is only contracted till the end of 26. So he could come across for next season, our first season. Same with Humphries. Pick one. Call it even money. Yeah, I'm on Humphries as well. He's in the NRL right now. He's shown a little bit at the Rabbitohs. Before that, it was Manly, of course, as well. And I think he's just got more versatility. And there's that key word that seems to follow every single Bears signing so far.
The one thing I will say is a slight little concern is he has had some hamstring issues. And so I just hopefully they can be kept at bay and he keeps going. But Humphries for me. Humphries all the way to the bank. I love him. I love what he does. Just get him here.
Hopefully the likes of quality trainers like Luke Laulili'i and Sean Russell, who apparently is a bit of a grinder off the field as well. Hopefully they can get in his ear and make sure he's ticking every single box off the field so that 100%. He's not having soft tissue injuries on it.
No, 100%.
Mitch, that'll do us. We come to the end of another episode. We're 1 month in now as well, so that's a milestone.
It is a milestone. Happy 1 month anniversary if we're going to do one of those things. We're thinking 3 weeks before the newest Bear will be joining the world. So hopefully, I'm keen. Yeah, this is all happening. It's all happening, Phil. Like it's just
Mitch
into the flow
is nearly a dad for those playing at home. It's a very exciting time in his life and an uncertain time in the podcast's life because we're going to have to find some co-hosts for those weeks.
Just for 2 weeks. There's one more thing though. I'm trying to work out whether or not to make him a North City Bears member from the moment he's born, or do I wait to be a Perth Bears fan? Let's remember. So to have him that.
That tacos ad.
Yeah, true.
Why not both?
We can do
both.
Both.
That's going to be me as soon as the Perth Bears release that membership detail, which we're all waiting for with bated breath.
It was just more the fact that he's like to say that he can be a Bears fan since the moment he was born. I don't know how to. But,
I think just double life Bears member, full stop.
Just force it on them. All right, until next week, Phil.
That's it. We are the Griswolds, of course. Follow us on Insta at the Griswolds NRL, YouTube at the Griswolds NRL. Please follow and subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast player as well, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. A big thank you to you, Mitch, and we'll end the show by saying, go you Bears.
Go you Bears, get on it.